Hi friends, today is Tuesday, September 7th, and today is Rosh Hashanah. And so to our Jewish community, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. And thank you for, I did want to mention this because I think it's important that this is the first time that I've been on this board that I didn't have a staff that was in the clerk's office specifically that was paying attention to these holidays. And so please let me know if there's ever any way that we can advocate in our office, but I have asked the clerk's office to confirm with the Jewish calendar to ensure that this doesn't happen again, that we don't have board meetings on Jewish holidays. And so we voted on National Suicide Prevention Awareness as a board. We went through a couple of items that were the proclamations, and then we had other items as they came up. The one that we sponsored here out of District 5 is Voter Registration Day, which is September 28th. We're going to be working with One Arizona Coalition, League of Women Voters, and One Arizona Coalition has Mi Familia Vota, Raise, Coalition for Change. We're going to be working with school districts to try to get as many people registered to vote. We think it's very important, and we'll be advocating for that. Pima County is joining TUSD regarding the primary versus secondary tax, which is essentially how it impacts TUSD is through the DSEG budget. That item passed 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting against. Pima County is going to submit an amicus brief regarding mask and vaccine mandates. This is the case that has been initiated by other organizations, including the Arizona School Board Association. That item also passed 4-1. I think it's important for us to do everything we can here as a county to support ensuring that our children are as safe as possible, and extending that mask, the ability for school districts and to have local control and to have mask mandates when it is important, I think, or when it's for our community and for us to make that decision is critically important. And I want to make sure that that passes the September 29th date that we have from the governor's executive order. We moved an item to September 21st that was on the agenda regarding Sun Corridor. Now, Sun Corridor they draw businesses to our community and, potentially income, revenue, and employers. My concern was the types of businesses that they're drawing to Pima County, how they're supporting what we as a board have advocated for clean air, clean water, clean environment, the Sonoran Conservation Plan, and what we've seen by some of the initiatives that are supported by Sun Corridor is the expansion of mining, businesses and industries that potentially come to pollute our area and then leave. Where are the revenues going, and the proceeds from the kinds of funds that are brought to Pima County? How much of that stays in Pima County and how much of that goes to their home headquarters? Those are things that I wanted to know. We do not get updates from Sun Corridor, and so that $650,000 that we invest from Pima County, I wanted to know how that funding is spent. And so that was postponed. We directed the funds from Arizona Bowl. We had a sponsorship that was pulled because of the Barstool Sports that was a part of the Arizona Bowl. We pulled that funding, and now it's going to be going to Nadia Olin Wellness Program with Chicanos por la Causa. That program specifically goes into schools and talks about, the whole goal of the program is to really prevent domestic violence, which I think is critically important, especially considering why we pulled those funds from Barstool. The COVID, we had a lot of items on COVID, actually. There were 2 items that were notable, and I wanted to thank those community members that sent emails and reached out on social media regarding mask requirements in Pima County and mandatory vaccines for healthcare workers. Both of those items were put forward by District 2, and both of those were pulled. And so I would have absolutely supported both of those items. I don't think they would have passed. I think they probably would have passed 3-2, as most of these have. I'm not sure why the items were pulled, but if you have any questions regarding that, I'm sure Supervisor Hines will be sending out some information about that. incentives to get people, to get county employees vaccinated. Just to give you an idea how well that went and how well it's going, when we adopted this on the 16th of last month, we had 2,865 employees vaccinated, so about 43%. As of Friday, we had 4,427, or 66% vaccinated. I think that's an incredible amount. I don't know how much of that is people just realizing that they should register because they would be able to be eligible for the incentives. But regardless of what, why this happened, or if it was more people getting vaccinated, I think it was a combination of both. But going up to 66% is better for all of us. Now, we did vote on the disincentives. So I want to talk a little bit about what those were because they weren't reviewed during the item. We are going to require mandatory weekly COVID testing for our unvaccinated employees, voiding the health insurance premium discounts for unvaccinated employees, which would add a financial vaccination incentive that increases premium paid by employees by up to $35 per pay period, or $910 annually, and developing a separate health insurance medical premium for unvaccinated employees due to medical expense risk related to contracting COVID. So ultimately, it's about a financial hit of about $1,500 for our employees who are opting not to be vaccinated. And so I think it's important that we do everything, we're trying everything we can to incentivize, and if those aren't working, maybe the disincentives will. But I just wanted to make note of that, and that did pass 4-1. Update on COVID in general. So as of 9/7, we have 6,000, that's today, 9,575 community members in Pima County that have opted to have their first dose. So 63.9%, which I think is great. Fully vaccinated are up to 55.9%. So by the end of today, we'll probably be 56%, which is, probably be 56%. I think that's really great. And Pima County has exceeded the 18 and up. So I think that any projections, Pima County is doing well. We do need to acknowledge that the school updates, we've had 1,413 cases out of schools. These are cases reported by schools. That doesn't mean that those are the only young people that are contracting COVID. But I do think it's important that we note that these are the ones that are reported by schools. And so of those cases, 1,225 are children and 188 are staff. And of those children, 671 are too young to be vaccinated. And so that's where it really is incumbent upon the rest of us to get vaccinated. Pima County also distributed tests to school. This is the Buy Next tests. And so those totaled almost 36,000 tests that are out in the community. So when a child has symptoms, they can be tested. This happened with my son. He had kind of allergies, really. So, but one of the symptoms for the Delta is kind of a sore throat. And so they gave him a test, and I was able to authorize that over the phone, fax in a permission slip, and it was done in 15 minutes. And so it really is a lot of reassurance to our community, and I think all of these mitigation strategies are helping. And so I'm glad that Pima County has taken an active role. There was one other comment that was made by a colleague, making it seem as if the county just sort of takes over a school and sets up a vaccine pop-up there. And I want to be really, really clear, as somebody who has coordinated these pop-ups with different schools. I connect Pima County Health Department with the principal. Tucson Unified has already done a blanket approval whenever that can get coordinated with each campus. So really it's the principal at each site that coordinates with the Pima County Health Department to make sure that happens. That's the case with Sunnyside as well, other districts with other superintendents that I've spoken to. So I just want to make sure that we're really clear that Pima County is not taking over a campus and forcing vaccines on anyone. The other piece of it is that parents must, for those that are under the age of 18, which is consent, sign a permission slip authorizing the Pima County Health Department or any Walgreens, anybody, to give their child a vaccine. So this is not happening without the permission of parent or guardian, just to be very clear. We did authorize $2 million in shelter funding for asylum seekers who need to isolate. It's up to 2 million, but it is for the entire facility. The reason why we did that is because we're really having an influx of people, and because quarters are so tight, we want to make sure that anyone that shows any symptoms can be isolated and separated. And so this is for the health of our community. This is not funding coming out of the general fund, and so I was happy to support that. We had a minimum wage discussion that was initiated by this office to move to $15 an hour. This was just a discussion because I wanted to start to talk about how this is a problem that needs to be addressed regionally, not with Pima County for their county employees, not with the city for their city employees, but something that has to be done regionally. There is some resistance from different members of our board, but what I did ask for is, how do we incorporate the voice of our small business community, other employers, other organizations that are really pushing for $15 an hour? Because when we look at the data, to work full time at $15 an hour, your annual income is almost $32,000. That is not life of luxury. And if you're trying to support a family on $32,000 a year, with the conditions of rent increasing, food increasing, I don't know how you're able to do that. And so it's important for us to acknowledge that that annual income is not something that is sustainable for a family. And so I think it's important for us to be able, we need to discuss this with our community and hear from you. But I'm glad that we started the conversation. We also waived attorney-client privilege for an opinion regarding gun shows and gun sales on county property. I'm going to get into more detail on that in another conversation, but I wanted to make sure that that item is released and something that we can share with our supporters who are also opposed to having gun sales on county property. And then we had a discussion about evictions and funds specifically for landlords for them to be able to access a pot of funding because right now the system requires really tenants to go through that process as opposed to landlords. And so that item is going to come back in September with some additional information, because my concern was the fact that we have funding now that is still, we're doing a good job. I'm doing a better job in Pima County, but we still have $5 million that can be distributed. And so how are we going to incorporate this newer idea into the system that we already have? I think it's important for us to not overload our system or our county employees with another initiative. And I was hoping that this is something that can be incorporated into what we're already doing. In a nutshell, I think that was most of our agenda. There were a couple items that I would encourage you to get more information on, and we're going to go ahead and put a link to the agenda and to the live stream. And so I want to thank you so much for paying attention to county politics. Stay safe, my friends.